Hey David, we were just talking about boards a second ago, but the same kind of argument applies to foils as well. I don't know what your thoughts are between carbon and aluminum with respect to foils, but what do you think?
Well, it's as a shop owner, you have a lot of people come into the shop, and you really want to do right by them and their wallet. And sometimes, you can be, unwise with your dollars because you think it's less expensive. And the word I like really key on when a customer comes in is talking about value. And while carbon fiber is more expensive, the cash register for initial purchase, in terms of value proposition, when you compare it to aluminum, it's a way smarter buy. And I'd like to ask you why you think that is, and then I'll tell you why I think it is too.
Oh man, well, to get the same stiffness with aluminum, the parts have to be substantially thicker. And the problem with aluminum, if you try to get something that's going to perform well, you got to make it so thin that it'll bend. So, those are two issues. And, one of the dominant problems also is galvanic corrosion, which is just a nightmare. The bolts and nuts seize up, and, you wind up with having to use Tef gel, which is kind of unpleasant, and you get all kinds of corrosion and salt, leaching out all over the place. It's definitely a challenge to maintain. I don't think anybody really wants to wash their foils.
What do you think the weight is? Is it like twice as much, or aluminum, or?
Oh my God,
three times as much?
Might be 3 times as much.
Yeah. I think the other thing that is the unsung sort of property of carbon fiber, and I'm gonna totally geek out on you on science talk here, but it's called the coefficient of restitution. And that is when you bend something, how quickly does it restore to its normal shape, and does it not twist? Because in our sport in foiling, twist is the enemy. If you twist, you ventilate, right? And so if you have a soft aluminum mast that has carbon wings on the bottom, it is torquing that mast. So if you wonder why you're having trouble going into your jibes on an aluminum mast, it's because you're riding the bouncy horse at the front of the supermarket, going side to side and twisting all over the place, where carbon is actually storing that energy of that jibe and returning it to you in a very stable, predictable way. When you compare carbon fiber to fiberglass, if you were to bend a piece of carbon fiber and then watch it bounce back, and bend a piece of fiberglass and watch it bounce back, carbon bounces back 4 times faster than fiberglass. And that is what makes your jibe smooth and helps you actually complete the move that you've been trying so hard that's frustrating. You wonder why you're not completing your jibe. It's because your gear is making it more difficult.
I mean, that's the reason we've moved to all carbon construction. So, our parts are all modular, and we've taken out all the aluminum parts. The fuselages, when our windsurf foil is gone, now it's all carbon. Which has a pretty high load, so we've had to really engineer those connections. But, I think the suggestion is, if you're going to be getting into the sport, it makes sense to make the investment in a good, solid carbon fiber mast, because the aluminum, either it's going to corrode or it's not going to give you the experience that you expect when you're riding it. So, we're suggesting to kind of go with the carbon. You're gonna save a lot in the long run, right?
Yeah, it's tough to think, that somebody's not going to explain that to me when I'm at the point. That's why I think specialty retail is so important, to be able to tell that story to people, because it is a lot of money. I don't want to downplay the fact that $800 between one mast and the other isn't a lot of money, but 3 years down from the line, your carbon mast is still working. Your aluminum mast is dead money. So in the end of the day, what was really the better value? It really was saving up to get to that carbon mast, because in the long run, that did right by your wallet.
Definitely. All right. Anything else?
No, I would just say, praise be carbon. It is
praise be carbon.
Praise be carbon. It is what makes our world go around in all of our sports, whether we've been windsurfing, foiling, stand-up paddling. It's flex, it's light, it's durable. I just have to say, damn Boeing, because if Boeing wasn't building their planes out, the prices wouldn't be so out of control. But Boeing knows what we know, right? If you wanted to save money on fuel and have a fast-moving plane and it doesn't twist around in the sky, they want to use carbon fiber. So it's just caused prices to move a little out of control, but that's because it's worth every penny.
Yeah, it doesn't corrode. And one thing I have to pay attention to is when I'm making these renderings for these carbon parts, people that just love carbon fiber and the way it looks, and you have to be careful, like internally at the company, I know that in looking at these renderings, people fall in love with the parts. So you know, it's part of the enjoyment of doing the design.
I'm glad you mentioned that. I will say one negative thing about carbon, and everybody talks about it's 4 times stronger than steel, and that's absolutely true in terms of tensile strength. There is one downside to carbon, and its impact properties are not the best. It does not like to be whacked. So please people, keep your stuff in bags, keep it out of the UV, because while carbon is incredibly strong, that's kind of marketing talk. It is not really durable to impact. So you've got to take care of your wings. And make sure that you don't hit them hard with anything. Keep them in bags and keep them out of sun. This is a lifetime purchase. You take care of your carbon, it'll take care of you.
There you go.
Thanks for coming down to the shop.
Thanks, Dave.